This conference will now be recorded.
So that we can send it to you after the webinar ends. And so
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, sorry about that. So as I was saying, we are going to record the session for today so that we can send it to you all afterwards and so that you can also share it with your team members. So just a few reminders before we get started. You will see on your screen for GoToMeeting how to mute your line. So when someone else is speaking, we kindly remind you to click on that green button so that we can have silence for the person who is speaking. Also, if you have any comments or questions while the person is presenting, while our speaker is presenting, you can type in the chat box that you see on your screen. And just to let you know, the questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Once again, we are recording the session and we will be sending it to all of you afterwards so that you can also share it with your team. A quick reminder for those of you on social media, either on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, please connect with us at Girls Inspire and at Call4D. And you can use the hashtags that you see on your screen for street theater and also in support of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So without further comments, I would like to pass it on to Ms. Frances Ferreira, who is the Women and Girls Senior Advisor here at the Commonwealth of Learning, to make the welcoming remarks and to present our guest speaker.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all our guests and especially to our guest speaker today. As you all know, we have started the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence on Monday, when it was the International Day for the elimination of violence against women. And as you all know, we have this campaign every year, and we're also trying to send the message and to unite with the Unite campaign to end violence against women by 2030. Now, we all know this is a very ambitious goal, but we also know that each and every little contribution that we are making add to making a difference. And for us at Girls Inspire, we use various means to raise awareness and to share information. Having webinars is one of those strategies to ensure that we give our message out there to everybody to join us in this campaign. Today, we have a very special guest, Ms. Anbreen Ajab, who is the Executive Director of Bidari. Welcome, Anbreen, and thank you so much for having agreed to volunteer for us for this session. Anbreen is known to most of you, and she is a women's rights activist based in Islamabad, very energetic and very much passionate about her work in the development sector, which she has been doing for over 18 years. Major areas of her work include gender-sensitive strategic planning and program development, media engagement, street theater for change, women's political empowerment, advocacy for policy reforms regarding women's rights, monitoring and evaluation, and training on gender and contemporary management issues. And in this regard, Anbreen is also a visiting scholar who is teaching graduate students at different universities in Islamabad and Rawalpindi. So you would agree with me that she was the perfect person to speak to us this morning on this theme of street theater and how we can use street theater in our fight against gender-based violence and specifically rape. Anbreen has led many theater and radio campaigns during her work on attitudinal change, and you will know that part of what we are doing is to change social norms, and social norms can only be changed if there is attitude change. And she is an expert in working towards attitudinal change and then achieving social change. She's coming from a rural background and a very humble person herself, and she is able to utilize her own experiences and apply them to contemporary development issues. From humble beginnings to where she is today, Anbreen is going to share with us from her personal and professional experience, as well as her activism in the area of development, to share with us this morning how street theatre can make a difference. She is indeed a valued member, not only in Pakistan civil society, but internationally amongst women's organizations. With that, Anbreen, a very warm welcome, and once again, welcome to all our guests in the session today.
Thank you very much, Frances. So, Anbreen, now I will make you the presenter so that you can share with us your presentation. Okay, we can see in the screen, Anbreen, so kindly proceed.
Is she busy or can?
Anbreen?
You are muted. Oh.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can.
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Frances, for this very nice introduction, and thank you all for providing me this opportunity. While I was preparing this presentation, I was recalling myself joining Bedari as a theater actor when I was a student, and the first play I performed in a street was on rape. And I performed a role of a rape survivor, and I still feel the goosebumps in my body, what I was feeling when I was performing this, and when I was receiving the feedback from people, how they warmly welcomed the performance. So this is how I started, and this street theater, before I go for street theater presentation, I'll just give you a summary of how I will. First of all, I will give you a brief information about rape in Pakistan. Using street theater for attitudinal change, I have drafted some key guidelines which is based on our own experience, and then I will share with you the experience of Bedari, how we do and where we do the street theater, and then some challenges and mitigation strategies. Of course, street theater comes up with some very serious challenges, and we need to have some mitigation strategies. And then we will go for question and answers. I'll try to complete my presentation in 20 to 25 to 30 minutes, and then we can have some questions around. Pakistan, if I come to the situation of rape in Pakistan, it has a comprehensive legislation available for addressing rape. We have very strong comprehensive legislation. However, the conviction rate is extremely low, around 2% or even less. Some reports say it is 1.2%. Rape is reported every 2 hours in Pakistan. When it comes to frequency, it is highly committed crime against women. And it is estimated that only 10% of actual incidents of rape are reported. The rest go unreported and unaddressed. So you can imagine the intensity. If only 10% are reported and it is every 2 hours, then how frequently it would be in real situation. Some reasons for not reporting the cases include fear of further exploitation in all the judicial process and justice seeking process. The strong myths about rape, I will talk about them in later presentation, and insensitive and lengthy justice procedures. Sometimes it takes 10 years to decide to get justice, and even then that is half-hearted justice, and it is not complete justice to the victim. While talking about myth, I'm sure most of these myths be prevailing in your countries as well. There are strongly prevailing myths, including rape occurs in dark and quiet places. People believe in this myth. And then there's a belief that women who go out alone are raped. Good, pious, and modest women are not raped. Women who were raped must have given some indications to provoke men. Or to be safe from being raped, it is better to stay at home. And I'm sure you all would agree with me that all these are myths. Rape occur in public places as well. We have seen the cases internationally and in the country. Then there are women who cover themselves in the most possible way. Even then they are raped, and then there's no indication. I mean, what happens when a 5 years old girl is raped by a 35-year-old man? Was she giving any signals or indications to men to provoke men? And then, of course, the rape occurs at home as well. So all these all these are myths, but then these myths prevail so strongly that whenever any rape occurs, the questions coming from different segments of society
Ambreen,
include
sorry, we couldn't hear that last part.
what was she wearing, for example. Why did she went alone? You give any indications and signals. One can see all these. Sorry. Hello.
Ambreen,
Hello.
I'm sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt you, but we couldn't hear so well. So if you could kindly repeat that, please, that last part.
Yes. Okay, I will talk. I will start from the. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Ambreen. Just kindly repeat that
Hello.
last.
Yeah. Okay. So my this last slide I was talking about was about the rape victims and survivors. Because people follow the same myths, so what they do is that they ask questions, keep questioning women, or sometimes keep what she was wearing. She must have gone. Why particular lady? She must have given some signals. Selected. What time did she give? Went out. This particular, was it dark? So all these of course it becomes relevant, because when it talks about, when I have shared with you that there is less conviction rate and there is less reporting, this is because of all these strong myths which prevail, and the women has to go through all these questions again and again. So it can be addressed if the fears of those being raped are addressed. If they don't have any fear that they will be blamed, they will be stigmatized, then myths around rape are transformed to the actual reasons. I mean, they should be very clearly manifested the truths that women should not be blamed. And then the spotlight of this heinous crime is transferred to the culprit instead of victims or survivors. And this all can be done if common people are shown the actual situation by using street theater. I have seen that generally people do not get impressed by the lectures and seminars in many cases, but if the real situation through street theater is presented, they can relate that street theater with their real life stories, and they see the difference between the myths and the realities. So this is how I was street theater can effectively work. We have used child campaign against child, and then we use sexual harassment. We can see the impact in people. When it comes to the guidelines, but we it's clear about actually happens when the case when rape occurs. Then we talk to some people who are not working on women rights and ask their views about rape. Why I mentioned who are not working for women rights, because when you talk to people who are working on women rights, they of course know what myth and what is reality. They are expected to know. But the common people are the people who sometimes believe in those myths. And then you can have the idea how intense that is in among the grand experts know the issue in depth. So once you have talked to common people, then you can talk to some experts, some lawyers, and sometimes, if possible, some rape survivors or victims. For us, it is not very easy to reach to the rape victims. However, we have very strong connection with the shelter homes which are run by the government, and in those shelter homes there are rape survivors as well. And after a few meetings, they get ready to share their stories with us. Then select the key roles from this information which you want to include in your theater. I mean, you cannot have all the roles, because I will talk about it later, how long a street theater should be, because it should be short, and in short theater you may not be able to express all the roles. You may break the story in 2 or 3 stages, and in first phase you can highlight few areas of behind the rape, and then you can highlight some other areas in the later theater. And then define your audience. This is very important, because when you define your audience, where you want to perform the play, and then you can actually develop the idea and select the myths which you want to focus on, and select the roles which you want to focus on in the theaters, the characters of the theater. The second point is developing the story. Usually, we should believe that story cannot be done by one person. It should be a team to develop story. It is one person can start the idea, and then the team should improvise it, because issue of rape is not something very simple. It is a complicated issue. So people can add into it based on their information and based on their own diverse experience, since you have as an audience, and so that it will actually give you the idea of what is absorbed to be, what is like people, how much the audience will be able to absorb. Are you going to be too tough or too soft? How the lines should be written and all that. And then keep checking with each other about sensitivity of the words, because some in some words are suitable to be used in some areas, but they may be very offensive to be used in some other areas. So you need to be very clear and very conscious about the words you are using. Keep the story realistic. Sometimes you do not get complete justice, still you achieve something. I mean, if you look at the films and dramas written in the context, every drama play, every film ends with an happy ending. So in case of rape, there may not be very strongly happy ending, but still you leave some learning message. So it is, if you want to end it, justice is available, and in some cases. Okay, the third step would be making a team of actors. In a street theater, generally you when you form the team, you see the acting, you see the voice, you see the movements and expressions and all that. But in this particular case, when you have to go to end violence against women, you have to be enough and aware and sensitized to basically understand the spirit of this theater. They should be sensitized. And if they are not sensitized, or if they are committed, but they still need some more sensitization, you may like to arrange a training before going for a theater. You may like to arrange a conceptual training on rape and sensitivity of this issue. And they should be familiar with the cultural norms and structures and the audience you choose for this activity. This is because if they know the structure, if they know the culture, only then they would know what can be offensive for them, for the audience, and what can be acceptable for the audience. And familiar and user of the language you choose for the theater. Normally, street theater is done in local language. So you need to choose people who know the local language, which is understandable to people, and know their own biases and are able to verbalize and overcome them. As I mentioned, when I performed as a theater actor and role of a rape survivor, there was goosebumps in my body, and I was like very conscious and nervous as well, because I knew that this is something which is taken as a shame to be talked about. So I had to work on my own biases, my own myths before performing in the role, because if you have your own biases, you may not give justice to the role you are performing. And it is important to verbalize the biases. And then next step is developing the script. Once you are sure that the story you developed is relevant, understandable, comprehensive, and crisp, then you are ready to develop a script. Normally, what we do is that it is not one person writing the dialogues. It is we all sit together and we say, okay, this is what one character is saying, what should be the response of next character, because overall we have defined all the characters and all that. This helps us in developing and improvising the script. It can be, sometimes the approach is that one person who is expert in writing the dialogue can draft the dialogue and then sit with the team and then improvise it. This is also a possible approach to be used. It is not important that it is not mandatory to have the team right from the beginning. So but before starting the rehearsals, the team should discuss each and every sentence and dialogue with each other, so that all the risks of being challenged, or any offensive word or something, that can be addressed at this time of the script development. And of course, it should be developed in an understandable language, and the words should be sensitively used, and then the script should be developed in a way that you don't need too many props. If you think that you are doing the theater in street, you don't have the time to change your clothes or to change your appearance again and again. So it should be developed in a way that just with little props, you are presenting the actual character. For example, in our case, for example, the young girls wear some colorful clothes, whereas the mothers wear usually sober colors. And then if a woman is playing double role, she will just change her headscarf from colorful to sober, and then the character will be changed. So this is how very small props should be used, so that it is convenient for you to perform in street. Then the play must not be more than 20 minutes. Now, why I am saying that it should be 20 minutes? Okay, I'm just saying that when your play is more than 25 minutes or more than 20 minutes, people lose their interest, because you are doing it in public places where people have not come out to see your play. They are there for their own shows, and they just happen to be at the place where you are performing. So they may be able to give you 15 to 20 minutes if it is very interesting and all that, but they may not be able to give you more than that. Secondly, the street theater has its the messages are very brief and crisp and quick, and if it is long, it becomes less interested and less appealing. So that is why our experience is that theater should be between 15 to 20 minutes. This is enough to give a small message, a short message to people. Rehearsals. First of all, you need to choose a place where you can, if when needed, you can invite experts, both theater expert and women rights experts. Because when you do after some rehearsals, you need to have some feedback from women rights and theater people, who give you the idea of what actually should be done and how it should be done, and if you are going on the right track, if messages being conveyed effectively. And the theater expert would give you the feedback on the moves and on the gestures and expressions and all that. So this makes this theater more effective. And then you can get the feedback and you can incorporate this feedback in the theater. But again, you need to remember that it is actually you who need to decide which feedback need to be added, which is not needed to be added. Because when a women rights activist sees a play on the rape, it is very important that women rights activist has very deep knowledge about the issue, and some myths not to be addressed because you have already defined the audience, and you have defined your role according to the audience you are going to perform in. So this is, now you are the better judge of what move need to be added, what feedback need to be added in that. Then I always recommend that performing in such a sensitive area, sensitive topic, you need to have a pre-testing. And this pre-testing can be done in 2 phases. First phase is that you have a defined place, which is not a street, and you are inside some place which is safe and which is acceptable, reachable to people. And then you invite selected people. You, before performing the theater, you raise some questions that these are the things about their theater. Is it giving the message clearly? Can it be performed in streets or public places? What improvements can be made to make it acceptable in streets? What challenges they see if you perform it in streets, public places? The audience of your pre-testing may include experts of theater, community work, women rights, and people who have no idea about the issue. They will be the real people, what they felt about it. Because when women rights activists would see it, they would know the issue and they would have their own specialized feedback. But the people who have no idea about the depth of this issue, they will give you the feedback of how challenging it can be to perform it in the street. So this is the diversity of the group where you need to do the pre-testing. Okay, then the audience of then you need to keep notes of all this, and then you need to revisit your theater once again to see which challenges can occur and how you can address those challenges, what mitigation strategies you would like to adopt. As a last step before actual performance, you may choose to perform it in a park or any other nearby place to see the public's reaction. So this is not the actual place which you selected for performance. This is just like outside your office maybe, or maybe a few feet away, or maybe next street to your office, where you can see the public response. And then if something happens, you can quickly run back to the office. Some countries, this issue is very sensitive, and people think that this is ridiculous to talk about it. This is shameful to talk about it. And similarly, for example, in countries like Pakistan, if women are included in that theater and they are performing something, they may feel some harassment as well.
just for performing in a theater. People might not know what is this theater all about, but they just seeing women performing in theater in a public place may be risky, and you need to be careful about that. Then public places. This is performance in public places. This is, I think, the last step. You need to choose a public place like bus stop, eating places, shopping areas. Eating places are like, for example, we call it dhabas, which is like roadside. There is a just small stall of food, and people sit around and to have tea or coffee or and refreshments, etc. But then outside of the school, make sure this is safe place and you have space to run away in case of any unforeseen situation. For us, it happened for so many times that we had to run away from the community because people said, why you are performing it? So choose a tool to attract people. In Pakistan, the areas we perform in, this big drum beating is very common. So we use drum beating, and a person starts beating the drum, and then people start dancing or some cultural dance around the drum, and this attracts people. Sometimes just simple shouting together can attract people. So it is up to you what type of tool you want to select for attracting people, because of course people are there for their own shows and they will be attracted from anything happening around them in a different way. So then you perform your play. Then this next point is especially for your own feedback, and for if you are doing a theater with a donor funding, this is for donors as well. Because when you talk to donors about street theater, they would generally ask, how would you measure the impact? And street theater is not something where you can fill a questionnaire from the audience. It is not possible. People just see and just move away. So this is the strategy we use. Create a dialogue to get feedback from audience. Sometimes it is possible, sometimes it is not. And then sometimes what we do is that we try to collect testimonies just through our mobile. We ask people if they are willing to give their feedback on mobile, and then we record it on mobile in a video form, and we keep it for the next presentation, or maybe for people who are interested to know about theater and impacts of theater. We try to use that for them. So be careful that this dialogue also should not be longer than 15 minutes, because the more you stay in a place, the more you are putting yourself at risk in some areas. For example, in Pakistan, in some areas, there is in some security situation, it becomes very difficult to keep people together. And sometimes even law enforcing agencies come in and say, why are you doing this in public place? This is risky. So you have to move on. So that is why it is, you are the best judge. You need to keep it less than 15 minutes. Just try to capture some feedback from people, focusing on what they felt about it and what message they got from the play, and record it and then use it for this. And then right after performance and the dialogue, you need to run out, you need to move on, because if you stay there, your risk and security becomes very challenging. So I will now show you few examples of how we perform and where we perform. This is an example of a bus stop where we performed street theater. There are the man in yellow scarf and the girl in a beige head cover, and the man is in black. The people heading towards the photograph, you can see the faces, are the performers, and there is audience, and this is a bus stop. Then sometimes we do it in streets, in enclosed streets where we have more space for people to sit, people to stand, and all that. Sometimes we have to conduct exclusive performances. For example, sometimes the older people cannot reach everywhere. So if we want to capture the older people, for example, these are the examples of Ending Child Marriage campaign. So it was a child marriage theater on child marriage, these elder people have very important role to play. So it was important that they must watch the play. So we performed this for elderly people, especially in places where they can come and they get together. Then this is exclusive performance for women only. In many cases in Pakistan, we can't have women in streets watching a street theater, although they go out for their personal shows, but it is not a norm to stand and watch the street theater. So we perform it exclusively inside in some closed area. This was done in a community place, community center, and we invited women to come and perform, watch the performance. Harvesting season is a time when farmers will not give you time for anything. So it is important that you basically consider their important time. Harvesting season cannot be long delayed. It has to be done in a special particular time. So what we do is that we do theater in a time when the people harvesting the crops have to take some rest. So this theater becomes a rest as well as a message for them, and we do it in the fields. You can see this is the sugarcane field, and these people sitting here are the ones who are working in this field, and they sat together and watched this performance. Yeah, and then this is the roadside where we do the theater. And this is another common place of community. This is like a tea stall or something where people get together and sit and talk. So we try to perform it here. And then we create a dialogue after that. The dialogue, I will show you just a 1 minute video. Oops, this happens always. I think I will not spend more time on this. This was a small video of people who, of a person who shared what he felt about it. I'll just try to find it here. If it is, I'll just spend 30 seconds.
At the end, if you like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, the next I'm talking about challenges and mitigation strategies. Well, the challenges we face include finding actors, especially women. As I mentioned earlier, women, it is not very good idea for women to perform in theater. So this is stigmatized profession. So what we do is that we try to get women from the communities we work with. These communities have trust on us. They know that we are doing it for a message, for a good cause. So in most of the cases, the women are from the same community, or the women from the students. We try to find students because in many cases, students are too much enthusiastic about doing challenging things, and they are active, they can give time, and it gives us more benefit because we have engaged students in an area which they might not have gotten a chance to explore about knowing these issues, and people don't talk about these issues very openly. So this is a good opportunity for students as well. Then security and risk of violent reaction from audience. By security, I don't mean that there would be terrorism or something. It is the security in form of the people in a patriarchal structure. When you start theater in this way, they come up with the violent reaction saying that you are actually exploiting our society by doing these theaters and engaging these women in this and all that. So this is the risk which we can get from the audience, and in few of cases we have faced it. What we do is, to address it, what we do is that we should not do it more than 20 minutes. And in some communities where we know people, we try to bring them along and they become part of the audience. So if there is any reaction coming in from the audience, before we respond to it, these like-minded people, because they are from the same community, they respond to those people and reaction, and they try to cool that down. So this makes us feel a little comfortable and easy, because the people who are basically doing reaction or negatively or violently reacting, they listen to the community people more than any person who is outsider. And then difficulty in measuring the impact. This is one of the challenge which I mentioned. So we try to capture videos. I already talked about it. And we try to take notes of whatever people are saying. We try to capture the quotes, exact quotes of the people when they share their experience. Gathering the audience is another challenge. But then we have learned that if we have performed a street theater in front of 15 to 20 people, I think we have served the purpose, because people in the street are out for their own show. They have not come up to watch this theater, and we should know that we cannot have many people. So drum beating and different tools to attract people before starting the actual performance are the tools which can attract people. But sometimes we have performed in front of hundreds of people, and some other times it was only 15, 20, 30, 50 people in front of which them we performed. So it should be known that street theater will not have as big audience as you have for the stage performances. So this is what it is. Thanks a lot. I think I'm open now for the questions.
Thank you, Ambreen. I will quickly play the video first, and then we will open the floor for the questions.
Yeah, that would be great.
ये आने वाला वक्त जो है ये बहुत बेहतर मुझे लगता है मुझे खुद भी हल्का सीरियस प्रोग्राम होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमारा मौसम जो है बहुत ही नीचे चला गया है। तो देखा है कि डायलॉग है, बहुत अच्छे डायलॉग है आने वाले वक्त के लिए भी, और जो मौजूदा दौर सा है उसके लिए।
You can see it's just like this. In the other one? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Adriana, for playing this video. I just will talk a few seconds about this video. I know this was in Punjabi and Urdu, and you may not be able to understand what he was saying, but this was father of a girl child, and he started crying after watching the video, theater on child marriage. And he said he promised that he will not, after this video, he said that he promised to ensure education for the girls and not marry them off at the early age. And he said that these plays and programs should be done more often to aware people. So this is an example of how we collect the videos. Thank you very much. And now I'm open for the questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Ambreen. And this was a very interesting presentation. I think we all learned a lot. So yes, just to confirm that we are opening the floor for questions of the audience. So if someone has a question, please go ahead. We're going to take 3 questions, and then Ambreen can answer to all 3 questions.
I'm Daisy. Hello.
Yes, Ms. Daisy, we can hear you. Proceed.
Yes. Thank you, Ambreen. Such a wonderful and revolutionary and performance on the violence against women, to stop the violence against women. We are very much impressed with such a nice presentation. and nice, beautiful messages are there. I have some question. Only main question is that in the conservative traditional Muslim society, how do you perform these issues like gender-based violence in the street? Did you face any resistance from the society? If yes, then how do you address those criticisms or resistance to stop this powerful medium? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Daisy, for your question. We're going to take two more questions. So Chandni, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Anbreen, and it is very excellent presentation. And I have 3 questions. First one is that the as you said, like the story is always not, the end is not the happy end. But what we want to do is we have to give a message for the community. If it is rape, then we'll have to show them there's a punishment. So then my issue is that, like in our culture, it's take long time, the law procedures, and to get a decision. So everybody knows that perpetrators are in outside, so they are free, and the survivor is only in the shelter. So this end, actually it is very sad to show that, but then how we could emphasize that they have punishment. This is one. Other one is that the most of our staff members, if I ask them to go to street and do the performance, they might not be able to, or they say no. So whether it's possible for us to use kind of a mask or have a makeup, is it good for the drama, or it is not good for that, having mask, something like that, or to have a makeup on the on her face? And I also want to know that in between songs, you said that it's only 20 minutes, but I have seen some theaters, like in between dialogues, they use some music and songs, especially the songs with some meaning related to the topic. So then is it okay to have such music in between the dialogues? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shandi, for your question. We're taking one more question from Varsha. Kindly speak, Varsha. We can hear you. Someone else has a question? Please go ahead. Okay, it seems for now no one else has questions. So Ambreen, kindly proceed to answer those 2 questions, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Tracy, and the other colleague, I think it's Hansika Kumari. Thank you very much for your very important questions. Yes, in Muslim community like ours, it is very difficult to perform street theater, and it is challenging. But and sometimes we have faced very serious challenges. For example, once our team was taken to the police station on complaint of somebody, and we had to get them released in a few, of course, in an hour or something, but still we used the linkages. This challenge stays there, but then what we do is that we try to find places where we can perform and we can run away. You know what I mean? I mean, we are committed to the cause, and we try to perform the theater, and the places where we will put our theater team in risk, we try not to perform over there. We try to create a relatively acceptable environment before we go and perform in any place. So in some cases, we try to engage some local community members in some areas, that this is what the performance we are going to perform. We would like you to also come there and see the performance. So these local community elders who are known to us, they become a sort of support for us as well.
So this is how this is how we try to deal with this. And in some areas, the street theater in Pakistani rural culture is very old tradition. So it is not very new thing for the rural culture especially. So when we do it in rural culture, it is mostly acceptable. It is not very resistant. We don't feel much resistance in that. In urban areas and bus stops, yes, we have a threat sometimes. Sometimes we try to engage some police people as well to be part of that theater, so that if they are there to watch, then people become careful that they are not supposed to to do any reaction. The people who don't like, they just leave after some while, and we don't mind that if people leave and they are not ready to see the theater. We think that attitudinal change does not come by forcing it to people. It comes from within. So this is how we try to do it. And regarding the question about happy ending and punishing the culprits, when I say that you need to be realistic, it does not mean that you are always have to show the dark picture. We need to develop the script in a way that we need to show a path to people, that if you use this path, you will succeed in seeking justice. But we should also tell in the theater that you will face these challenges. Here are few challenges which you may face. Sometimes justice will be long, sometimes justice will be denied, sometimes it will be seriously delayed, and all that. So it is actually, we need to show any society is not full of bad people, or all bad people or all good people. So there are systems where people can avail the situation. In our case, for example, most of the rural communities do not know about any law. And of course, as you know, the rape is a manifestation of power. So always the rapist is a powerful guy. So many people get afraid of it. So we need to break that fear as well. So this is how we try to create this attitudinal change. And the very important thing we focus on is breaking the myths. When a rape victim or survivor knows that she will not be further stigmatized, and she has some people around who know that it is not her fault, she will not be afraid of delayed process of seeking justice. So I think the theater should focus on these areas by focusing and helping them out to understand that these are challenges. Of course, seeking justice is not simple, easy way, but still the courageous people get justice at the end. So if it is a happy ending, if there are cases, when you read the cases, if there are cases where people were punished, you need to read the whole case of how people were punished, what were the punishments, what was the legal process followed, and that should be represented in your theater, so that people should know that if you follow these paths, you will be able to get justice. In our case, in some cases, women prefer not to report, but they still seek psychological counseling. I mean, punishment is one success. Punishment of the culprits is one success. The other success and major success is whether the rape victim or rape survivor is ready to restart her life and ready to live with this pain and ready to be ready to explore herself. So it is up to you what side of story you want to show. For example, our very notorious case of Mukhtar, I think most of you know about it, and there are stories on Google about her. There was a gang rape by this Panchayat and Jirga system, the local traditional justice system. There was a gang rape on their decision, and then she fought for it. And she fought for it for 10 years. She lost the case. And still, in these 10 years, she restarted her life. She's running a school, she is moving, she's representing women's rights, women everywhere, internationally and nationally, and she started a life. Now you have to decide whether it is a successful story or it is not successful story. So this is how theater would focus on. So I hope I have responded to your question. Hello?
Thank you very much, Ambreen. Yes, you have responded so eloquently to all those questions and so clearly. I'm sure everybody is inspired by this, and that was the reason why we have asked you, because one cannot encourage partners or anybody to endeavor to do something like street theater without having somebody who can speak on this topic with the authority and with the passion that you have just done. Because sometimes we speak to people and we say you can do this and you can do that, but then they just say, yeah, you don't know how hard it is. But you have spoken from a point of experience, and as you said, you started by being an actor in the first place. So you have been working at the back end and at the front end and in the middle and everywhere. So you really have that, you really internalize this whole issue. And that is why it was easy to answer any question. And you have even given us advice on how to deal with the challenges. I think the main thing for me here is that whatever challenge we may think there is a solution for it. And we really have to put our minds to it and see if we cannot find the solution ourselves, we can reach out to our partners within this community of practice and find solutions. But this was really, I mean, we have heard this street theater, presentation before, but this is different because this is very special. It spoke to a specific theme as to how we can use this to address this challenge during this period in which we are now. So I hope some of the partners may want to start this idea of having a street theater and focus on one idea as to why do we want to use it in order for us to make the change. So thank you so much, Ambreen. I'm really very, very pleased that you have agreed to speak to us today. And I enjoyed the talk very much. So thank you so much for that. Thank you also to all the partners who have attended the session. I've noted that not everybody who indicated they will attended, but we are really grateful for you who have made the time. And I really hope that you can go back to your teams and see how this can help you to continue and make some changes in your practices, in changing the attitudes, in changing the social norms within your communities. With that, thank you so much. And I hand back to Adriana. Thank you also, Adriana, for all the arrangements that you have made and for all the support in ensuring that our presenter could have a lovely presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Francis.
you very much.
Sorry, Ambreen, just want to quickly thank Francis for her
Just
time.
thank you very much, Francis, and thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Ambreen. It was indeed a very insightful presentation. I really enjoyed listening to you and to your experiences. So yes, hopefully the partners can start applying street theater as well. Thank you, Francis, as well, and thank you for everyone who attended the session. So without more further comments, we are going to close the session. Once again, Ambreen, thank you very much for making the time for this presentation.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.